صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. We are going to talk about history. The Quran shows us that history is very important. The Quran says, فَقُصُصِ الْقَصَصِ, tell them these stories, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ, so that they will ponder over them. Which means stories come with lessons. We get to learn about certain things from stories. We get to learn patience. We get to learn wisdom. We learn a lot of things from patience. That's why the Quran instructs such. We learn history. Now, we know that if people forget their history, they're going to forget a lot of things, their culture. They may even forget their language. They'll forget their religion if it means doing so. They'll forget a lot of things. But adhering to history will help you revive everything. Those who know much of history will live in the past. And that is why the Quran talks much about history. It tells you about a lot of things. You remember the story of Nabi Musa and his teacher Khidr. You remember the story of the Ashab al-Kahf, the people like us who lived under the Roman Empire and what happened to them, and how they're able to stick to their Iman, and how Allah saved them from what they're afraid of. You remember the story of Luqman and his child. You remember the story of Madian, where Prophet Musa والسلام, migrated to after the threat of his execution in Egypt. We remember a lot of stories mentioned by the Quran. So we are going to look at our history, the history of Islam, so that we'll know our past, so that we can learn from it. Now, to begin with, maybe today's lesson, maybe in summary, because this is just a mere introduction. In our next lessons, you may see a broader aspect of history. Now, I would like to begin the lesson of history by with a subject referred to as Allah. Although in all the things that we've been mentioning, we've been talking about Allah, we have a subject called Tawheed, but still I'd like to make mention of Allah. Now, if you're talking about history, the past, you must talk about the beginning of everything. We know the Prophet ﷺ had visitors. And when these visitors came, for those of us who know the story, they asked him, Ya Rasulullah, what is the beginning of life in general? And the Prophet ﷺ said to them, in the beginning, it was Allah alone. And nothing existed before Allah. There's nothing like before Allah. And nothing was with him at that time. So in the beginning, it was Allah. There's nothing like before Allah. At that time, there was no time, right? When you don't have a beginning for anything, then you don't have time, right? You only have time when something commences. When were you born? You will say 1960, 70, 80, 90, 2000. That was the beginning. When did the program start? The program started 11 o'clock. Right? When did he build his house? He built his house 2 years ago. So that's the beginning. But for something that does not have a beginning, you don't have time for it. It's out of time. And you can't see when was this thing or when was this person created, because he cannot be created. There's no beginning, there's no time attached to him. And when will this end, or when will this person end, you cannot attribute an end to him, because he lives out of time. He can never have a beginning, and he can never have an end. And this is Allah for you. Some of us may clearly understand this, and some may not understand this, but this is a fact, and we should believe in it. We must believe in it, yes. Now, as we know, Allah is the one and only true God. He's the one who created everything, of course. Because He's so powerful, and because He has great powers, He did everything with precision. And all His creations are perfect. What I mean perfect is you can see the greatness of his architectural design in all his creations. Look at human beings. Look at how the progeny of the human being continues. Look at aging in human beings. Look at the sun and the moon and the stars. Look at how they revolve. Look at the relationship between the sun, the moon and the oceans of the earth. Look at how the earth revolves on its axis. Look at how your body functions. Look at your skeleton, your organs, the veins inside you, how blood moves, how your lungs function. Now, all these things are automatic. They have been automated by Allah. You breathe without you knowing that you are breathing. Your stomach digests everything without you knowing that you are digesting everything. Now, who did this is Allah. Whatever you see out there, whatever you know, and that which you don't know, it was created by Allah the Almighty. وَخَلَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. He is the one who created everything. Created man, jinns, earth, animals, sun, moon, and all that exists. He's the one who should be worshipped alone. And nothing looks like him in his creations. Nothing looks like him. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. He can see you where you are, right? But then you cannot see him because he's too far from you. And this is what makes your side different from his side. His eyes are not like your eyes because your eyes can only see what is in front of them. But his eyes are not like yours. They can see everywhere at an instant. Everywhere he can see everything as an instant. But you can only see one thing at a time, right? Your eye can only vividly see one thing at a time. An ayah was revealed in the Qur'an. Allah says, وعنده مفاتح الغيب لا يعلمها إلا هو ويعلم ما في البر والبحر وما تسقط من ورقة إلا يعلمها ولا حبة في ظلمات الأرض ولا رطب ولا يابس إلا في كتاب مبين وعنده مفاتيح الغيب. The keys of the unseen and the keys of the future are with him. The knowledge of the future and the unseen is with Allah. لا يعلمها إلا هو. Nobody knows everything about this except him. ويعلم ما في البر والبحر. And he knows what is placed on the earth and in the universe and what is hidden within the oceans. ما تسقط من ورقة إلا يعلمها. There's no leaf that will fall down from any tree anywhere on the globe at any time except he knows that that leaf is falling down at that minute. If 1 billion leaves will fall at the same time, he will know he'll know the exact leaf and where the leaf is falling from on that tree, wherever the tree is. Look at how powerful the knowledge of Allah is. وَلَا حَبَّةٍ فِي ظُلُمَاتِ. There's no single soil particle or any other particle on the surface of the earth except that Allah knows that that particle exists there in that exact position. And if anything will shake that particle, Allah will know that that particle has moved at that spot anywhere in the world. Now this is to tell you that Allah is too powerful. His knowledge is too powerful. His ability is too powerful, far beyond what every other creature can do. In fact, every other creature is a servant or a slave of Allah Almighty. Now I said, nothing looks like him. He can see you where you are, and worshipping someone other than him is shirk. If you do anything to any other person like you do to him, that is referred to as shirk. And Allah does not forgive shirk. Allah does not forgive those who do shirk, those who associate with him partners in worship. Although he may forgive something else, but he'll never forgive shirk. Because with all this his powers, you can't bring in someone and say someone is also God. It's impossible. Nobody can be God apart from him. Now, this is the little that I may say regarding Allah the Almighty. Now, you may ask, what was the first thing created? Are we going to bring in here the story of evolution? Will it apply? It will never apply. Now, what was the first thing created? The Prophet made mention in the hadith that the first thing created was a pen. The first thing created by Allah was a pen. And then Allah commanded that pen to write. Allah commanded that pen to write. And the pen asked, what should I write? What should I write? And then Allah said, write all that will happen till the end of time, which means all that will happen till eternity. Now this pen wrote, Allah created a book referred to as Lawh al-Mahfuz, and which means the book of Qadr, where Qadr is saved, where destinies are saved. Now this pen wrote all what had happened and all what is to happen till eternity. The pen wrote everything and everyone Allah will create. Now what will happen? How people will function. The pen has wrote that I'll be created and this is how I'll live and this is my level of obedience or disobedience to Allah, and this will be my abode day of judgment. Allah make our destiny Jannah. Everything about everybody, the amount of money that you'll get, how many accidents you'll get, everything has been written in that book. Now it's as if this pen has seen what will happen before it has happened, before it will happen, and it wrote everything down, and everything in that book must happen. May Allah destine us the best of all destinies. Now, after that, the heavens and all other things were created. Now, what happened? How was the heavens and the earth created? How was the heavens and the earth created? Now, the earth was created by Allah in 2 days. And then Allah placed mountains above the earth to make it stable. Alhamdulillah, blessed is He with everything that He has created. Now, inside the earth, Allah created everything that whoever will need on earth and whoever will live on earth will need. He placed on earth air, the earth that living things need, water, plants, oil, gold, iron, and every other thing. And man and animals will need as well. Now, this is the first 2 days. In another 2 days, He made the seventh heavens. We know the heavens were made from a cluster, a substance that looks like smoke. And there was this explosion that made them to split. At that time, the earth and that substance were more or less like together. When this explosion happened, each of them split out and it took its position. Then we had the first heaven and all other heavens. And in the first heaven, there are stars in the form of galaxies, and there are planets, and there's the sun and the moon and the earth and other things that we as human beings don't know about. There are other things created there in the universe which we don't know anything about. We may come in the future, but as for now, we don't know anything about them. Remember recently they were talking about the black hole, right? And then up to now there are a lot of researches with regards to the black hole. There are many other things that we don't know about because the heavens are so big that we have limitations with regards to what we can see in them. Yeah. Although we only have access to the first heaven, but the first heaven is also big to an extent that we have a limit to what we can see in it, So now everything just split, the earth took its position, and all the planets took their position, all the galaxies took their position. But of course, Allah told us that the stars in the sky were meant for some reasons. And one of them is to beautify, like for them to be like lamps to the heavens, to beautify the first heaven, right? Now, if you can closely look to, I mean, if you can have a close look at a galaxy, you'll see how beautiful it is, the different colors of the stars. And وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينَ, and these stars are used, as let's say bullets that are thrown on jinns. Certain things are being whispered to angels. Malaika Jibreel will receive a revelation from Allah, and sometimes he shares these revelations with the angels that are within the heavens. There are angels within the first heaven, Sama ad-Dunya, and the jinns will claim on each one another to hear what will be said to the angels. And sometimes the message can be that of something that will happen in some days to come, right? And when the jinns get this message, they'll bring it to their bosses, the shayateen. Of course, we know that there are people who worship shayateen, and they'll share this message with the people that they worship. Yeah. So the people that worship them. So now these stars are used as bullets to shoot at these shayateen, and when we shoot at them, they break up, and a lot of them get a lot of injuries and so on. And that will stop them from getting access to the message that they're after. So now, the whole heavens and what have you were made in the second day. And then he made the 7 heavens, one on top of another, in the last 2 days. So the first heaven, as I said, had all the stars in it. The other heavens have angels in them, and they have humans, like the prophets. Most of the prophets are now in some of the heavens. And we know the hadith of Isra or Mi'raj, the Prophet met Prophet Moses, and they exchanged, and they discussed certain things about Salah. So which means that in some of these angels and some of these heavens are constantly in the worship of Allah. Some of them do ruku, some of them do sujood. And nobody knows their number except Allah. There is no portion in these heavens that's empty. Wherever you go, the malaikun are standing there in sufuf, and they are worshiping Allah the Almighty. So there is no portion that is empty in these heavens. And wherever you go, everywhere, you can't get a massive area where there's nobody. Yeah, no, you can't get that in any of the heavens. So now, these angels do their worship there, they worship Allah, and they do not disobey Allah the Almighty. And the prophets are there also worshiping Allah. So now, this was what, and one thing about this world is that the world, the earth that we live in, and the whole universe was made before the advent of humans with countless number of years. And some scholars are of the opinion that animals were placed in it before human beings, right? Maybe that was when the dinosaurs lived on Earth. Maybe that was when other creatures lived. Because the Earth, in fact, according to some scholars of Tafsir, a clan of jinns were placed on Earth before humans. And that happened 2,000 years before the creation of the first human. Yeah. And what happened was they are called Banu Jan, they lived with each other, and they were given a condition by Allah that they should not spill blood, they should not kill each other. And they ended up killing each other, and then a group of angels were sent to them. They destroyed all of them, and they took them down underneath rivers. So now after 2,000 years, the first human was made. So you can see for how long the earth lived before the human being. In fact, the earth was there even before the jinns were placed on it. So you have all the animals in it, you have a lot of plants in it, and it was there. It was after that Allah placed Nabi Adam with his wife on earth, and they went on to give birth to children and so on. Now, I made mention of angels in my talk. How were the angels created? Angels were created from light, and it's compulsory on every Muslim to believe in them, to believe that the angels do exist, which they do. Now, the angels are honored servants of Allah. They never disobey Him. They do not eat or drink. They don't eat or drink. Now, sometimes if you are reading Christian scripts, you will see a man with wings, right? It can be a man, it can be a woman. That is not an angel. Angels don't have gender. They are not boys or girls, so they don't have gender. So that's a false picture of angels. Now, angels have wings. Angels have wings. Some of them have 2 wings, some 3, some 4. مثنى وثلاث ورباع. ويزيد في الخلق ما يشاء. Some of them have more than 4 wings. Malaika Jibril has up to 600 wings according to Hadith. And Allah the Almighty has assigned different responsibilities to angels. Like Malaika Jibril, the Malak Jibril brings revelation. Whenever Allah wants to send something to His servants, the prophets and the messengers, He sends Malaika Jibril. Now you have Mikael. Mikael brings down mercy of Allah. He brings down rain and he grows plants. Remember, when you plant a seed, you're not the one who grows the seed. Now, Mikael and his military and the Malaikun that are working with him, and they are the ones who work on the plants that the seeds that you plant. Now you have others like Malakul Maut. Malakul Maut is the angel in charge of taking souls. You know, the Yahud will call him Israel. Israel is not a name, in Islam. It's a name given to him by the Yahud. But his actual name, as mentioned in the Qur'an, is Malakul Maut. And then you have Munkar and Nakir. They are the 2 angels that will meet in your grave. They are the 2 angels that will ask you questions in your grave. Ask you, Man Rabbuka, who is your Lord? Which means, who did you worship on earth? And you'll have to answer. وَمَا دِينُكَ, they will ask you, what is your religion? وَمَا الرَّجُلُ الَّذِي بُعِثَ فِيكُمْ, they will ask you of the prophet sent to you. And then they'll ask you of Salah and other things. If you answer these questions, you are going to stay in mercy. I mean, you are going to get access to Jannah from your grave. And if you fail to answer, you'll be punished within your grave if you fail to answer the questions of these 2 Malak. You have the Raqib and Atid. The Raqib and Atid are the 2 angels that follow you. You have one on your right and you have one on your left. And they're the ones who write all your deeds, all that you do. If you say something, if it's good, they'll write a reward. If it's bad, they'll write it. And in the day of judgment, this book will be given to you. And Allah will say to you, Iqra kitabak. When it's time for your judgment, you'll be asked to read your book. You'll say, I prayed Subhi on the 24th or 26th of April at so time. I went to this so place. I went in order to seek your pleasure, Allah. If you're the type who goes to clubs, you say, I went to this club, I took this intoxicant, I had this with so lady, I this. You'll be saying a lot of bad things, and everybody will be hearing what you're saying. And at the end of the day, you'll be giving your book on your left hand, and that means you're going to be punished. But then if what you contain in your book is good deeds, then you'll be giving your book on the right hand. That's your result after judgment, and that means you're going to enter Al-Jannah. Now, there are people who get their books in their right hand, but then they'll still enter the hellfire. And these are the hypocrites. After judgment, they'll be given their books in the right hand. They'll think that they have escaped punishment despite their disbelief in dunya. But Allah is doing to them what they did to Muslims in dunya. In dunya, they'll make you believe that they are Muslims, but then they are not Muslims. On the day of judgment, they'll be made to believe that they are free, they will be set free. But then they are not going to be set free. They'll be given their book in the right hand, but they'll be punished. Now, before you go into Jannah from the field of Hisab, there's a bridge that connects the field of Hisab and the front of Jannah. And this bridge is very long, and this bridge is very sharp, more sharper than a razor blade. And the bridge is is on top of Jahannam, right? We can feel the heat of Jahannam coming up. And everybody must pass this bridge to go to Jannah. Now, believers will be given two supports. Will be given a support by your left and by your right. And one of this, your support is amana, and the second one is, what do you call it? Is ziyarah. Amana means your level of trustworthiness. If you are trustworthy in dunya, that will come to you as a support on the top of Sirat, the bridge of Sirat. If you visit your relatives, you visit people in dunya, if you maintain kinship with people, that will come to you as a support on the Sirat. And you cannot cross the Sirat without these two supports. You see people trying to cross the Sirat by hook or crook. You see them crawling, pulling themselves, sitting down. And of course, the Sirat is hot indeed, because under it is the hellfire. And you see people battling, but they will not make it. You can't make it without this. Although people may cross the Sirat in different speeds. If you have a lot of deeds, then you'll cross. And let me tell us that the whole area of the Sirat is dark, much more darker than any form of darkness that we have seen in dunya. Now, you'll get light in accordance to how much your deeds are. If you have a lot of deeds, your front, only your front will get as much light as your deeds. If your deed is minute, you'll get the smallest light that you'll get is a light that is as wide as this area of my hand. Can you see that? As my nail, the nail of my thumb, right? You'll get something like a torchlight that will guide you. Now, the hypocrites will be given light, and they'll be given support. And when they start walking on the Sirat, on the bridge, they'll think that, alhamdulillah, we have escaped. Allah has forgotten everything. When they reach the middle of the Sirat, this light will be taken away, and the two supports will be taken away, and they'll have no option other than to fall into Jahannam. And they will be shouted, they will be calling upon those in front of them. They will say, Unzuruna, please wait for me. Let me manage myself and come close to you, so that I'll be guided by your light. Naqtabis min nurakum, I will see from your light. And those who will stand in front of these hypocrites will say, Unzuru wara'akum. Right? يقول المنافقون المنافقات الذين آمنوا انظرونا نقتبس من نوركم. They'll say قيل ارجعوا وراءكم فالتمسوا نورا. Go back, look back, you'll get light. And the moment that this hypocrite will look back, a sort of, a sort of petition will be put in between him and the person behind him. Now, what the person in front of him meant was, go back to dunya and get your light. But because he's too desperate, you'll think that he's getting the light behind him from the person coming behind him. And when he turns around, this luggage will be put, and he'll have no option other than to fall into Jahannam, wal-iyadhu billah. So now, this with regards to the Raqib and Atid. They will ask you questions in the grave. They will write you this. And the book that they write everything inside will be given to you in the judgment. And there are so many other angels, not to mention, which we don't even know their names, and they have different functions that they do. Now, we as human beings that are not prophets, we cannot see angels. We cannot see angels. Nobody can see angels, right? But prophets can see angels. The Prophet ﷺ, when the first revelation came, this huge creature came to him, and he squeezed him in his hands. The Prophet ﷺ told us how angel Jibreel looks. And when the Prophet ﷺ went for Israj and Miraj, with his night journey, he of course met Malaikun. So prophets do see angels, but we as ordinary humans and other prophets, we cannot see Malaikun, we cannot see them. Of course, shayateen can also see, shayateen, jinns can also see Malaikun. Yeah. You remember the hadith that explains what happened in a war that the Prophet ﷺ attended? The shaitan appeared in the form of a human, and when the angels came down, he said, Inni ara ma la tarawn, inni akhafullah. So he escaped. So he said, I can see what you cannot see, and I fear Allah, which means he's afraid that something bad may happen to him, and so he escaped. So the jinns, and of course, jinns were created before human beings, and they lived with the angels. And Allah instructed that the both of them should prostrate to and Adam, which they all did, which means they can see Malaikun. They can see, the Malaikun. The Malaikun can change forms. Angels can change forms. When they do so, you can see them. Only when they change forms. When you remember the hadith of Umar, when a stranger came to them, they were sitting with the Prophet ﷺ, a stranger came, and this stranger had no signs of traveling with him. If you're living in a desert and you're a new person, you're a stranger in society, you're supposed to look tired, you are supposed to look dusty and whatever. But this man came, there's no sign of him being tired, and there's no dust on him. And he sat down, he asked the Prophet ﷺ some questions. And at the end, the Prophet ﷺ said, Hada Jibreel atakum. This is Jibreel, who came to you. And atakum yu'allimakum dinakum, he came to teach you some things regarding your religion. So the jinns can change form, they can appear in form of human, and the angels can change form and they can appear in form of human beings. And when they do so, you can see them, right? You remember at the end of this hadith, this stranger left. As a stranger, if he's from somewhere around Mecca or Medina, they'll see him walking, but the moment he left them, he disappeared and they couldn't see him. This is to prove more that this is an angel, in addition to what the Prophet said to them. I think we'll stop like this. Of course, we'll proceed from here next week, inshallah. May Allah accept what we've said as an act of ibadah. May Allah accept our patience for listening as an act of ibadah as well. May Allah bring us together in Yawm al-Qiyamah, and may He put us in Jannah al-Firdaus altogether. May He join us with His prophets and the Shuhada and the Salihin amongst the servants. May He answer all our du'as of this Ramadan. May He raise this pandemic from us completely, and may He make us better people for what we are. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Can we get one comment before the 5 minutes end, please? I want a comment. What do you think we should improve on this lesson? One comment or 2 comments, please. If it's too rowdy, then we'll take the comments on the Telegram page. Bismillah.
Probably prefer to not fly than to fly a 1/3 empty planes in order to give you that 2-meter radius on an airplane.
Assalamu alaikum. I think with regards to the questions or suggestion or lessons that you asked earlier where the class was rowdy. I want to suggest if one wants to talk, he should raise his hand. Then the person handling the Zoom should give him the permission to talk. Then I think with that, we can go a long way and we can hear ourselves properly without the class being rowdy. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.